H?
Hello,
Yes.
hello, Shan.
Wait. Yes, good evening. Can you hear me
Good
clearly?
evening. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Long time no hear. I, I
Yeah,
have
long time no
not
hear.
heard about, I have not heard about you since last week, right? We did not
Yes.
had classes last week. I'm sorry I have to cancel the classes last week.
Yeah.
There was an unfortunate event. Okay,
Yeah.
so how was your week? Last week, how was your celebration of the Dragon Boat Festival?
It, it's all raining.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, did you celebrate with your family?
Just eat the traditional food.
Oh yeah, that one. So you did not watch um the legendary and the
No.
traditional. Oh, do you have it in your city or in your town? Do you have those competition? There's a competition, Dragon Boat competition, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a competition in my county, but unfortunately, it's all raining. Yeah.
Ah, okay. It rained, right?
Yeah.
Ah, that's too bad. So, yeah, it's actually we believe, like Filipinos believe, if it rains, then it's a blessing, right? If it
Yeah.
rains,
Mm-hmm.
it's a blessing. Do you believe in this kind of things?
No.
Oh, okay. So Taiwanese people do not actually believe in this one. This is according to
Yeah.
Filipino tradition, actually. Well, anyway, well, I hope it's a blessing for you. Was it a good week for you? Last week, was it a good one?
Yeah. Yeah. It,
Oh, okay, that's great to hear. Right. So what happened to my, oh, please, there's something wrong. Something went wrong. Okay. So that's a good thing that it was a good week. What about this Monday? How was your Monday?
Hey, fine. Nothing special.
Ah, okay, nothing special. Oh, I see. Okay, just an ordinary one, a common day, right? Just a
Mhm.
common day for you. It's an ordinary one, right?
Ordinary.
Mm,
Yeah.
ordinary one. Okay, so it's just an ordinary day for you. All right, now anyway, so last week, we were able to answer some of the predictions, right? We were able to predict, okay, what the students, because we were talking about learning a certain language, right? So
Hmm.
on page number 22, you're also here, okay? You were able to tell me, okay, about the prediction of what an instruction will say next. Okay,
Hmm.
this is before the listening activity. Okay, so before we listen. Now, you were able to tell me also on page number 24. Yeah, on page number 24. If you can go to that page. Okay. We actually discussed about what you already know about the topic, right? What your background knowledge about it, and you were able to answer all the following questions. Now, let's move on to page number 27 here. Okay, are you on page number 27, H?
Yes.
Yes. I will be playing an audio. Okay,
Hmm.
this is supposedly the audio that we have to listen, but we were not able to listen to this one. And we will just try to answer some of the questions afterwards. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let me share to you my audio. Give me 1 second. Where is it? Share. There you go. Let's try to listen to this one. 1 second.
Chapter 1 New
Did you hear it? Is it loud, H?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful,
It's
wonderful,
loud. Yeah.
wonderful.
Chapter 1 New Challenges Page 10 Activity
Hello.
2 Listening to make predictions.
Good morning. I am James Monroe, and this is Linguistics 101.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Our topic today is learning to speak someone else's language. Before I begin, I'd like to hear your questions on the topic. What does the title, Learning to Speak Someone Else's Language, bring to mind? What does it make you think about? Just call out your questions.
Stop 1. What questions do you think the students will ask?
What is language? I mean, where does it come from?
Good question. Any others?
Who uses language? Is it only humans?
Interesting. Next.
When does language develop? At what age?
Good. Got that? Yes, go ahead.
How many languages are there in the world? And can we ever really learn to speak someone else's language?
Any more? No? Then let's begin with that last question. Can we ever really learn to speak another person's language?
Stop 2. What do you think the professor's answer will be to the question? Why?
Well, I think that we must at least try. You see, language is the only window we have to see into someone else's mind. But this presents us with a paradox. On the one hand, language helps us communicate with each other. On the other hand, communication is almost impossible when we don't understand the words and symbols that someone else is using. Okay so far? Communication can fail, even when two people have the same native language. You see, in addition to their usual meanings, words and concepts have very personal meanings for each person based on memories and experiences. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. Is it like when I hear the word dog, I might think of the little beagle named Sarge that I had when I was a kid, but my friend, who is afraid of dogs, might think of Cujo? You know, that huge dog that attacked people in that old Stephen King movie?
That's right. Exactly. Here's another example. A rose may be just a beautiful object to me, but it may remind you of a lovely summer in England or a romantic birthday present. So you can see the problem, right?
Sure.
Also, there are between 3,000 and 6,000 public languages in the world. And we must add approximately 5 billion private languages, since each of us has one. Did you get that? With this many languages, it's amazing that we understand each other at all. However, sometimes we do communicate successfully. We do learn to speak other languages. But learning to speak a language seems to be a very mysterious process. Now, this brings us back to the first question on our list. Where does language come from? And how does it develop?
Stop 3. What do you think the professor's answer will be to this question?
For a long time, people thought that we learned language only by imitation and association. For example, a baby touches a hot pot and starts to cry. The mother says, "Hot, hot." And the baby, when it stops crying, imitates the mother and says, "Hot, hot." The baby then associates the word hot with the burning feeling. However, Noam Chomsky, a famous linguist, said that although children do learn some words by imitation and association, they also combine words to make sentences in ways they have never heard before. Chomsky suggested that this is possible because human babies have an innate ability to learn any language in the world.
Stop 4. What does this mean? What will the professor discuss next?
Are you following me?
Maybe.
Chomsky says that children are born with the ability to learn language, but this does not explain how children begin to use language in different ways. For example, as children develop their language skills, they quickly learn that language is used for more than stating facts, such as the ball is red. They learn to make requests, to give commands, to agree, to disagree, to explain, to excuse, and even to lie. The uses of language seem endless. This is the positive side of the paradox. Did you get that?
Maybe.
Not exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
not sure.
In other words, language is a wonderful way of communicating our ideas to other people. The negative side of the paradox is that not all people speak the same language, and therefore we cannot understand each other. So, we're back to where we started. Can we ever really learn to speak someone else's language?
Okay, there you go. H, were you
Yeah.
able to listen to that one? Yes, that was actually the 4 steps that we had last week. Okay,
Yeah.
and we weren't able to answer that one. So that is all about language. Okay, that's where we actually ended. Wait, please wait. That's where we actually ended our lesson. So let's move on to page number 29. Okay, you can see it, page number 29, right? We have step number 5. You see it?
Step number 5?
Yes, it's
Oh,
page
yeah,
number
yeah.
29 at the end
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
I see.
before we listen to, we continue listening to the audio, let's try to have this one answered, okay? So here, this is a quote. This is from where the professor was trying to say. Okay, can you read the quote, please, or the phrase? Our native.
Our native language actually determines the way we see the world.
Yes, very good. Can you say this, please? Native.
Native.
Very good. Okay, wonderful. Determines.
Determine.
Yes, very good. There you go. So we determine it. Okay. So according to this one, our native language actually determines the way we see the world. Okay, that means it tells us when you say determines, that means it tells you, okay, of how you see it. So the question is, what does this statement mean? Okay, what do you think is this? What does it mean? Let's see. It says here that our native language actually determines, okay, it causes something to occur in a specific way. Okay. Okay, so it says here that it determines the way we see the world, or maybe the way you think. Okay. What do you think what's the meaning of this one? That it is our native language. Example for you, of course, you have your language, the Taiwanese language, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and for me, it's the Filipino language that I use. It says here that our own languages would make us understand and determines how we see the world, or everything in the world. Like I
Yeah.
told you, example would be um in Filipino culture, we see rain as a gift, right? It's a blessing for us. I told you it's a blessing because in Philippines you will find a lot of farms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need water for us to be able to have good farm, right? Farming system perhaps. Okay? So what about this one? What is the meaning of this? How do you think would our native language or native language would affect the way we think? Okay, I'll give you another one. How will it affect the way we think? How do you think it will affect? Because of course, like Taiwanese and Filipinos have different ways of thinking, right? Of course
Yeah.
there is. Okay. And it says here that it is because of our native language. Why is that? Why do you think?
Actually, I don't know what kind of difference.
Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, so anyway, let's try to listen to the audio, all right? So that
Okay.
we will be able to answer this one. Okay, let's start.
Okay.
Let me share to you my system. Here we go.
For now, let's assume that we can learn to speak someone else's language. Not just a few polite phrases, but really learn to speak it fluently. We know that we will be able to communicate with other people who speak that language. But something else happens as well. I think that learning another language can transform us as individuals. It can change our worldview and even our personalities. For example, if we speak French fluently, we can begin to see the world in a way that is typically French. That is, we can view the world from an entirely different point of view, which might change our personalities dramatically. Are you following me?
Not exactly. Professor Monroe, I'm not sure that I buy the idea that I would actually become someone else just because I learned to speak another language.
Okay, consider this. A linguist named Benjamin Lee Whorf said that our native language actually determines the way we see the world.
Stop 5. What does this statement mean? What kind of examples do you think the professor might give?
I believe he meant something like this. Imagine a language that has no words for anger, fear, or jealousy. Does that mean that we won't experience these emotions if we are native speakers of that language? Or imagine a language that has 25 words for love. Will we be able to love more deeply if we are native speakers of that language?
Well, maybe, but I think there's a problem with that point of view.
Okay, what do you think that might be?
Well, for one thing, that point of view ignores the fact that languages change and that they borrow words from other languages. For example, English sometimes uses words from other languages to express a thought or name a thing in a better way.
Stop 6.
All right, now, H, wait. Did you hear it properly? It's actually quite long. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that one. Okay, so I put the script here. You can see the page 30. Okay, so this is actually what the professor thinks about language. Okay, that it affects the way we see the world, right? So his example, what was his example here? What was his example word? What was the example word that he used in this one? What word did he use?
Pardon?
Okay, and you heard the professor, right? He spoke about this one. Page number 30. Can you go to page number 30, H?
Yeah.
Yes. So in this particular way, okay, let's try to read this once more so that we could understand it. Okay, can you please read this one?
I believe he meant
Mhm.
something like this. Imagine a language that has no word for anger, fear,
Jealous.
jealousy.
Yes.
Does that mean that we won't experience those emotions if we are native speakers of the language? Or imagine a language that has 25 words for love. Will we be able to love more deeply if we are native speakers of that language?
Okay. Very good. So of that language. All right. So here, what was the example word that he used? What word did he use here? What was the word that he actually used in this part?
Love.
Yes, very good, love. In your language, H, do you have a lot of words for love?
No.
Oh, really now? I mean, what's the word for love in a Taiwanese language?
Yeah, there are a lot of words that have the same meaning.
Oh,
Love. Yeah.
yeah, okay, but if you speak about love, you don't say love in Taiwanese, right? You
Yeah.
have a lot of terms. Okay. So, do you think if that is the case, H, do you think Taiwanese are lovable person? Do you, do you think?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe, right? Because you use a lot of language, I mean, a lot of words for love alone. Okay.
Yeah,
That is actually the example here. Example in my country for the word rice, you eat rice, right?
yeah.
We use a lot of term, okay? Because it is with we use it because it is in our culture because we eat rice, right? What about in your country? How many words or how many names does rice have?
Rice is no more used, and after cooking,
Uh-huh.
we have different name.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah,
same thing here, right?
yeah,
From the field, we call it in a different way. And then when you
yeah,
got it out of its shell, it has a different way. And then
yeah,
when you cook it, there's a different word for that one. Exactly, right?
yeah,
But in English, since they do not eat rice, they only call it rice.
yeah.
Right? Okay, that's the reason why. Okay, so can you say this word, please? Able.
Able.
Very good. Wonderful. Okay, let's continue reading this one to understand further about language. Can you read it, please?
Well, maybe I think there's problem
Mhm.
with the point of view. Okay, what do you think that might be? Well, for one thing, the point of view ignores the fact that language has changed and that if they borrow words
Mhm.
from other languages,
Mhm.
for example, English sometimes use words from other languages to express a thought
Mhm.
or name a thing in a better way.
Very good. Okay, can you practice this one? H. Change.
Change.
Yes, very good. That's it. Okay, so in the viewpoint of the student, okay, according to the student here, this is what the student said, that we forgot one thing. There are certain chances that there is a chance that what the professor said is quite false. Okay, could be false because sometimes we use English. Okay,
Mhm,
English would use other languages
mhm,
just to give importance to a word. Okay,
mhm.
so that's it. In Chinese, I mean in Taiwanese language, I'm not pretty sure what other, like dumpling, right? I think this
Oh,
one is of different language. Okay, that is just borrowed. Okay, what is the famous food in your place? By the way, I'm sorry, I have to ask. What's the most famous food? What is the most? So that we could give an example of this one.
mhm.
What's the most famous food that you have?
In my country,
hmm
it's made from rice.
And what do you call that one in
Uh,
your language?
卤肉饭.
Google one. And you cannot find that one in English dictionary, right? and so, and so, that's why English language would borrow words from your language.
Uh-huh.
Right? That is why it says here that it's not always, if you learn another language, you would see the word in different way. Because
Mhm.
English borrows words from other languages. Because they
Yeah,
cannot express it in a way. Right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Okay, now, so that's the reason why. Let's move on to step number 6. Okay, let me show to you my system again. And let's continue. Oh, but before that one, we have to answer the question. Okay? Can you
Okay.
please read this?
English sometimes uses
Mm-hmm.
words from other languages
Mm-hmm.
to express its thought
It's
or
thought.
name a thing better way.
Yes, okay. So, what do you think are the examples that the professor might use? Okay, I gave you an example of this one. It says here that English would borrow words from other languages so that it could actually express in a better way. So, what could be the example of this one? Can you give me one example?
There is one example
Mm-hmm.
that English maybe borrow from Chinese.
Oh yes, what could that be?
No time, long time no see.
Yeah, that's one way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. That's one. And other is I don't know if you I'm sorry. Give me 1 second about this. This one. Do you know this? Of course you know this one, right?
Actually, I have no idea about this.
Really now? Let me see.
Bak cho.
Bokcho, right? Because it doesn't have any this one. Wait, let me put it here. There's something wrong with Google nowadays. I'm having
Ah,
difficulty. You can see it, right? This one?
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
eat this? Oh, I hope I could eat this. Okay, we don't have that.
One kind of vegetable.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Um, this one, actually, another one is this one, ketchup. Ketchup. It's also a borrowed word from Cantonese. Okay, the origin of the word is actually in Cantonese, right? So, and another one is chop chop and chopsticks. This one, chop chop. These are the borrowed words from Chinese.
Chopsticks?
Yeah, chop chop. Another word is chop chop. Let me see. Are you familiar with chop chop?
No.
Let me see. I'll give it to you. Please wait. I'm having difficulty because I'm not really familiar with this one.
Is it really?
Hurry. It means hurry, right? No?
Chop chop.
It's a Cantonese language. You're not familiar with Cantonese.
I never heard this
Oh,
one.
I'm so sorry about that one. What language do you speak, by the way, H? Is it Mandarin or Cantonese?
Mandarin.
Ah, that's why. Okay. There's another word here. It's chin chin. You know this one? Maybe you could tell me about this. Chin chin or king. How do you say this? In Chinese. What's the meaning of this one? Is it not a food? No.
Sorry.
It's not. It's not familiar with you. You're not familiar with this one.
No.
I
It's
see.
really English?
Yeah, they borrowed it. They just borrowed it from
Oh.
Mandarin, like feng shui. This one. I'm not sure if I say it properly, right? It's
Feng shui. Oh,
feng
yeah, I
shui,
see.
right? So in English language, they don't have this one because they don't believe in feng shui, right?
Yeah.
So they borrowed it. Okay, maybe because some Chinese or Taiwanese or what other people who are using feng shui, I mean, migrated in their country and then used this one. So later on, they were able to use this. I'm not sure with this one. What's that? Last one. Maybe you could do something with this one. Food dog. This one. Are you familiar with this?
Food dog?
Yeah, it says here. I can. Are you familiar? No.
No.
Oh, this
What kind?
one.
What?
I'll.
What is the food dog?
It's like a small item that is used,
Ah.
right? How do you call that one in your language?
Is dog is lion or dog?
Yeah, but they say food dog.
Really?
Yeah. And it says here that it's in Mandarin. I'm sorry. So that's
They are lions.
and how do you say this one? And how do I mean, what's the term for this picture? For this item?
We call them lions.
Oh, only lions.
Yeah,
Okay.
lions.
Oh, really now? It's like yeah, it's like this one. I mean, it's a small statue. You see it? 31, page 31.
Yeah, I saw that.
I see. All right, now thank you for telling me about it. I'm not really particular with this one. Okay, so let's move on with the audio. Let's listen. I think this is the last part. Okay, did I share my system with you? There you go. I have this.
What are some words that the professor might use as examples here?
Yes, of course. As I sat at home preparing for this lecture, I looked up at the collage on my wall and took a bite out of my croissant. Later, I experienced a moment of déjà vu. So, to describe my activities this morning, I have just used 3 words borrowed from French: collage, croissant, and déjà vu, because they describe certain things and experiences better than any English words.
So English is transformed by words from other languages that express things that really cannot be expressed very well in English.
Right. In a way, this transformation is what happens to us when we learn to speak someone else's language. We learn perhaps to express things that could not be expressed as well, or even at all, in our own languages. We may also learn to understand things in ways that we could not before. Does that make sense to you? We can begin to experience what it must be like to be born into another culture. Oh my, our time seems to be up. Next time, be prepared to talk about your own experiences in learning about another culture as you learn to speak a second language. Also, please read chapters 1 and 2 in your textbook and think about this question. If we learn one language so easily as children, why is it such a challenge to learn a second language as adults?
All right. Wonderful. That's the end of it. Okay, let me see. So it explains how he actually explained how language or how we actually learn language and why is it important to learn other languages. Okay, so here he actually used 3. Okay, 3 of this one. All right. So let's try to say the following words. Okay, can you start with this one?
Collage.
Very good. What about this one? This.
Croissant.
Okay. And then the last one is?
Croissant.
Déjà vu.
Yes, very good. It's croissant. Croissant.
Croissant.
Very good. It's croissant. It's at the first part. Yes. So a croissant is actually a bread. All right? Have you tried eating croissant before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you have it there in Taiwan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So they actually used these 3 words since they don't have it in English. Okay? That's why. All right. So here, let's try to answer this one. The last part. Okay? Can you see it, H?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Can you read this one, please?
If we learn one language so easily as children, why is it such a challenge to learn a second language as adults?
Yes, very good. Remember that children, you have kids, right, H? Yeah, I forgot. How many kids do you have? 1, 2, 2. Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So, your kids can learn your language, right? It's easy for them.
Yeah.
It's very easy for them. How old are they, by the way? I forgot. How?
One is 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other is 9.
Oh, yes. So they were able to learn language easily. It's very easy for them. Okay.
Yeah.
If that is the case, that children can actually learn language very easily, why can't we as adults have difficulty learning language? I mean, second language. Why do you think so? What's the problem with us that we cannot actually understand and learn other languages the same as children would learn? What do you think is the problem?
Maybe we are used to use the native language. Yeah.
Yes.
Very often. So if we want to learn the second language, I think it's not easy.
Yes, we want to learn the second language. It is not very easy. Exactly. right? Because, okay, do you want to add more? What? Why not? I mean, we already have native language, so what? I mean, what is the reason? We already have native language, and then, so what if we have native language already? Can't we
Mm.
can't we learn more about it?
It is possible
It is possible to what?
to learn a second language.
Mm, okay. Is there a bot here? Bot? Is there is there is there a counterpart? No?
Just like the memory of computer.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, let me see. Just
Yeah.
like the memory. Wow. Okay. Of a computer. What about the memory of a computer? What happened here?
For example, the maximum memory size is only 4 GB.
Oh, okay, maximum.
Yeah.
Maximum. I'm sorry, what was that? Maximum memory of it is 4 gig, right? GB.
4GB.
Okay.
And we learn the native language maybe used maybe 3 GB.
Oh, we used 3. Okay. And then,
Yeah. Left only 1 GB for
uh,
the space we can use to learn the second language.
okay, space we use to learn the second language. Wow. Wow, I'm so happy that you're using what do you call that one? You're comparing things. This is actually right because we used up a lot of memory for our native language. There's no enough space for us to store in, right? The new language that we have. And we have like we filter things now, right? I mean, we screen, we choose what we know, what we learn. Unlike kids, right?
Mhm.
They learn what they don't know. Okay, without filter. Without filter. It's like you're screening it, right? You're choosing what you want to learn. Okay? What they don't without filter. Okay, very good. So this is your example. Maybe we are used, we use, okay, let's move this one. Let's have a correction for this one for a glimpse. We used the native language very often. Very good. So if you want to learn the second language, it's not very easy. Okay? It's not very easy anymore. All right. It's not very easy. All right. It is possible to learn language. All right. Why is it possible? Just like the memory of a computer, the maximum memory of it is 4 gig, and we learned the native language and used 3 gig. This is really good. So, okay, 3 gig. So, only, okay, we should add so, and then we put the only here. Okay, let's move this one. So, only 1 gig was left. Okay. Okay. So use 3 gigs left. So only 1 gig was left for us to learn. Okay, for us to use. Okay, to use, to learn the second language. Okay. Only gig was left to use. Very good. That's actually precisely correct. Okay. I can't agree no more. Okay. Let's move on to this one. So that's what you think about learning language. Okay, unlike kids. All right. So after listening, here let's move on to page number 34. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, we were able to talk about your predictions and most of them were actually correct. Now, let's try to listen to another audio. I'm really sorry, we have to listen a lot. Okay.
It's okay.
Yes. And I'm going to share you my system. See. Please give me 1 second.
Page 11, Activity 3. Comparing predictions.
Good morning. I am James Monroe, and this is Linguistics 101.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Our topic today is learning to speak someone else's language. Before I begin, I'd like to hear your questions on the topic. What does the title, Learning to Speak Someone Else's Language, bring to mind? What does it make you think about? Just call out your questions.
Stop 1.
What is language? I mean, where does it come from?
Good question. Any others?
Who uses language? Is it only humans?
Interesting. Next.
When does language develop? At what age?
Good. Got that? Yes, go ahead.
How many languages are there in the world? And can we ever really learn to speak someone else's language?
Any more? No? Then let's begin with that last question. Can we ever really learn to speak another person's language?
Stop 2.
Well, I think that we must at least try. You see, language is the only window we have to see into someone else's mind. But this presents us with a paradox. On the one hand, language helps us communicate with each other. On the other hand, communication is almost impossible when we don't understand the words and symbols that someone else is using. Okay so far? Communication can fail, even when two people have the same native language. You see, in addition to their usual meanings, words and concepts have very personal meanings for each person, based on memories and experiences. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. Is it like when I hear the word dog, I might think of the little beagle named Sarge that I had when I was a kid, but my friend, who is afraid of dogs, might think of Cujo? You know, that huge dog that attacked people in that old Stephen King movie?
That's right. Exactly. Here's another example. A rose may be just a beautiful object to me, but it may remind you of a lovely summer in England or a romantic birthday present. So you can see the problem, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, there are between 3,000 and 6,000 public languages in the world. And we must add approximately 5 billion private languages, since each of us has one. Did you get that? With this many languages, it's amazing that we understand each other at all. However, sometimes we do communicate successfully. We do learn to speak other languages. But learning to speak a language seems to be a very mysterious process. Now, this brings us back to the first question on our list. Where does language come from? And how does it develop?
Stop 3.
Okay, H, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's actually the audio that we actually listened a while ago. Okay? So I'll just give you something. I will just ask you some of the questions. This is the first one. Can you go to page number 34? Are you here on page number 34? Okay.
Yes, that's
So
right, yeah.
how does our experiences affect our language? Or how we understood language? Okay, there was an example about the rose and the dog, right? Okay, so how does it affect it, or how did it affect our experience, our language, the experience that one has? Example with the dog. Okay, how did it affect the way a person understood language? How do you think?
How to think.
How does our experiences affect our language, or how we understood language? I'll just ask you this question. Okay, how?
Okay.
You can do it.
Could you take one example?
Okay, the example given was the dog. Okay. So for me, I think dogs are really cute. Okay.
Yeah.
They're really, really cute creatures. But for other people, they don't find it cute and they're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of dogs. Why is that? That's one example. Other people
Mm-hmm.
likes dog and they think dogs are really loyal, they are cute, they are cuddly and whatnot, they're bubbly. But other people, if they see dogs, they would run away.
Mm-hmm.
And they would really avoid the dog. Why is that? Well, we have the same language. I mean, we have the same thinking that that is a dog. But then
Mm-hmm.
we have different views about dogs. And why is that? Do you like dogs, H?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about your kids?
No.
See, that's the reason. Okay, that's one example why. Why do they hate dogs? I mean, they're not fond of dogs, just like you, unlike you.
I don't know why they do not like
Oh,
dogs.
I see. What about your wife? Does your wife like? I mean,
My wife, yeah, same. She don't
she does.
she does not like dogs.
Oh, she does not.
Yeah.
Why is that? Do you know why?
Actually, I don't know.
Okay, okay. Um, let's. I mean, maybe because of the experience of your wife, right? Maybe your wife encountered a dog before, right? Maybe that's why. And maybe the dog actually caused her trauma, okay? Maybe fear.
Mhm,
So that's why we have different ways of thinking about dog, right?
mhm.
I told you before about rain, right? In your place, what do you think of rain? How do you think about rain? Is rain a good
Uh,
thing or not?
in this period, yes, it's a good. It's good because
Uh-huh.
we have a water shortage
Oh,
currently.
yes. Okay, that's your experience, right?
Yeah,
But maybe for other places that experience flood,
it's not a good.
see, they are not happy with the rain, but you are happy, but other people are not. Okay, that's the exact example of why language has different meaning to each and every one of us, right?
Mhm,
Because of our experience. It's because of the experience that makes language actually quite different from, I mean, to the viewpoint of a person from another,
mhm.
right? So I hope I'm making sense. Am
Yeah.
I? Okay. There you go. I will not be asking you to listen to the audio anymore because it's quite long. Okay, and you were able to answer it. All right.
Okay.
So let's move along to this one. Okay. Let's make predictions here. Okay. So we will be having the characters, the people, in our situation and the situation. Okay. What do you think will happen in each situation?
Mhm,
Okay. It's according to the characters and the situation itself. All
mhm.
right? Okay, let's start with the first characters. Who are our first characters? Character number one.
John, a short man,
Oh,
about 65 years old.
very good. And
Emma,
Emma.
Emma,
hmm
a tall woman, about 75 years old.
Okay, so who's older?
Emma.
Yes, very good. Okay, and what is the situation here?
John and Emma are standing in front of the only empty seat on the crowded New York
hmm
City subway.
hmm
If the man sits down, he is being impolite.
Uh-huh.
If he remains standing, he may fall because he is too short to reach the track.
Okay, imagine. Okay, his problem, the strap in the
Mhm.
subway, right? Where you can hold if in case, okay, if in case the, what do you call that one? The train might stop. Okay, you hold that one here. This way. You see it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the problem of John. If he sits down and there is an old woman standing, right? There's only one seat. Okay.
Yeah. Only
Okay.
one seat.
He would be impolite. But if he remains standing, he might fall because he cannot reach the strap. What do you think will he do?
He may ask the lady,
Mm-hmm. To what?
would you want to sit?
Okay. Oh, you are really polite. Okay. And then what do you think? Okay, so what do you think will the woman say?
Maybe say no.
Okay, you can say the woman might reject the offer, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think she will reject? Why?
Maybe the Emma is strong enough.
Yeah, I hope
Although he is 75 years old.
yeah, well, who knows, right? People here, I mean, in my country, when you are 75, you're not that old. Okay. It's not that bad. Okay, very good. So that's it. What about the next part? Very good for this one, H. Okay, let's move on to the characters. Okay, second characters. How we have two characters here.
80 or 60
Eddie.
years old boy. 80.
It's like Eddie.
80.
What about
A
Eddie?
Okay.
Mhm.
A 16 years old boy who want to be is rock musician.
Mhm.
He's kind and loves his mother. His father died when he was a small boy.
Okay.
Rosa, Eddie's loving?
Okay, Eddie's loving, yeah, loving but very conservative mother. That means she's loving. Okay. But yeah, you got it.
Yeah. But very conservative mother.
Conservative.
Conservative.
Very good. Okay, you know what a conservative person is? A person who thinks about tradition, right? Conservative.
Yeah.
Are you conservative?
Yes.
Okay, that's not a question. Okay, so what about the situation here?
Eddie wants to have his nose. Huh? What is this word?
Nose.
Nose
Pierced.
pierced.
Yeah.
And wear a silver nose ring.
Yeah.
But he only wants to do it with his mother's permission. Eddie and his mother are sitting in the living room, discussing the pros and cons, the positive and the negative side of piercing.
Yes, very good. Okay, do you know what is a nose pierce? This one, let me show it to you.
Have a ring
Yeah.
on his nose?
Nose. That's not a good one, actually. Let me see. Here. This one is nose piercing.
Oh,
but
it's very hurt.
Well, there's another one. It's small. Okay. Not that bad. You see it? There's a small.
Yeah.
This one is less hurtful. Okay. So when you say pros and cons, what do you mean by pros? What's pros? What do you think about this? Pros are positive and cons are negative, right? So what will she do? What do you think will Eddie do? What will happen?
Maybe his mother will disagree his
Agree with?
With his activity.
Yes, with his activity or plan, right?
Yeah, or plan, yeah.
Very good. Yes, maybe. What about you? If your child would tell you about this one, what do you think? What will you do?
I think up to land.
Oh, okay. So that's what you will be doing. All right, now. So anyway, H. We actually, it's actually almost time. All right.
Okay,
So
Cassie.
yeah. Well, anyway, we will be seeing each other on Wednesday, I guess. Wednesday.
Thursday.
Thursday. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
Thursday. Okay, I'll just write down the feedback here later so you could check. Okay,
Mhm.
but I want to congratulate you. You were able to answer most of the questions, but we still have to work on answering questions. Okay, it's very
Okay,
important. All right, so
okay,
that's it. We will just practice on that one. Don't worry.
okay,
All right, so H, that's the end of our lesson. I'll see you on Thursday. Have a great night. Okay, bye bye.
okay.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm.